Listen, this is my opinion. Cardi B settles for anything. Offset, he will cheat on anything that moves. And Stefon Diggs, he's going to have a baby with every girl that he thinks is attractive. We need to stop glorifying this behavior. All these women talking about, you go Cardi, you go Cardi. She's not even, her divorce is not even finalized, and she's pregnant by a whole nother dude who's currently still having fresh babies with other women. And then Offset parading around these different women. All of them are failures. So y'all be looking at the money. Oh, they're rich, they're black, they're rich. Yeah, but most of them are spiritually dead. Money is their God. Popularity is their God. That's what they live for. Cardi B lives for this. She lives for the attention. Still probably in love with Offset. Just got pregnant by a dude that don't really like her, that have a bunch of women. It's crazy. I wish all of them well, but I'm saying, look at this behavior. This is immature behavior, impulsive behavior. These people have issues that they have not dealt with. Same way we have issues. But the thing is, you have to learn from your mistakes. But these people just keep making the same mistake over and over again. You know why? Because they got money and they feel like I can just do whatever I want. It doesn't matter. We need to stop glorifying this. Cardi B to me looks pitiful. You're pregnant and your divorce is still in the process. And Offset running around with these different women. Y'all, it's goofy. Goofball 1, goofball 2, goofball 3. Tres goofball. All of them. You know what I'm saying? I'm just tired of seeing it. I'm tired. Y'all can say, Ron, you hate, could you? I'm tired. Yeah, I'm hating. I'm hating. Yeah, I'm hating. I'm tired of seeing it. Stefon Diggs, he just, like I said, he gonna have a baby with any girl that look good. She getting the baby. You get a baby. You get a baby. You get a baby. Offset, he gonna cheat. It don't matter. God could send him a woman, he gonna cheat on that woman. And Cardi B just settles for anything that breathes. I'm sorry. I'm tired of seeing it.
I'm going to talk about Cardi B being pregnant again today. This is a continuation of my Baby Mama series, and since I already have 2 videos out, I plan to keep expanding on this topic, because it's a conversation that needs to be had. Let me be clear. This series is not about women who did everything right but still found themselves in difficult circumstances. Women who entered into marriage only to be betrayed, abused, or cheated on. Those women are divorced single mothers navigating the challenges of co-parenting with difficult men, and that is an entirely different conversation. The focus of this series is on women who have never been married, women who become pregnant by men who don't care enough to commit, offer stability, and treat them as true partners. And I know Cardi has been married. Well, actually, she's still married, and I'm going to touch on that. But overall, I'm speaking about baby mamas. I'm speaking about women who view having a child with an athlete, a rapper, or any man with money as some sort of accomplishment or status symbol. Even more troubling are women who deliberately pursue married men, or men already in relationships, especially those with financial resources, believing that having a child with them will bring validation, security, or a sense of significance. If you haven't already, make sure to check out the first 2 videos in this series, where I break down the cases of Shakira and Drea. I'll have both videos pinned in the description box for you. If your response to this topic is, why does it matter? And she can do what she wants, then much of what I'm saying may not resonate with you. This conversation is not about policing choices. It's about recognizing that our decisions don't exist in a vacuum. They affect the next generation, they shape cultural norms, and they influence the standards and boundaries we set not only for ourselves, but also for our children. Let's be honest, this narrative has become completely distorted. We now live in a society that glorifies dysfunction and dresses it up as empowerment. Women can post a baby bump picture with no husband, no stable partner, and no foundation for family structure, and the comment sections will be flooded with congratulations, queen. But congratulations for what, exactly? For contributing to yet another broken home? For perpetuating cycles of instability and generational dysfunction? And not to get caught up in semantics, but a queen is a married woman of a king. Baby mamas are hardly queens, please stop calling them that. When we blindly celebrate these choices, we reinforce the idea that marriage, commitment, and family structure are optional luxuries rather than essential foundations. We've normalized dysfunction to the point that children growing up in fractured households is seen as ordinary, even expected. And yet, statistics consistently show that children raised without stable 2-parent homes face greater challenges, emotionally, socially, and economically. This is not about shaming individuals, it's about questioning why our culture applauds decisions that ultimately create more harm than good. Why do we celebrate outcomes that place unnecessary future burdens on children while absolving women of responsibility? Why do we normalize situations that make life harder for the next generation when we could be raising the bar instead of lowering it? At some point, we have to stop mistaking validation for empowerment. Genuine empowerment is not about settling for being someone's baby mama. It's about creating stability, demanding commitment, and ensuring that our children inherit more than just dysfunction. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, who are you to say this? You've never been married. You've never been pregnant. You've never even had an abortion. What gives you the authority to speak on this? And here's my answer. I don't speak as an outsider looking in. I speak as someone who is a direct product of baby mama culture. My perspective comes from lived experience, not speculation. I am living proof of what happens when children are brought into unstable environments, when motherhood is used as leverage to manipulate men into staying, or as a tool to validate relationships that were never meant to last. For those of us raised in these circumstances, the consequences are not abstract. They're woven into the fabric of our lives. We've seen instability, confusion, and dysfunction play out in real time. We've watched mothers and fathers weaponize children against one another, turning them into bargaining chips in toxic power struggles. And we've carried the weight of decisions we never had a say in, decisions that shaped our emotional, psychological, and spiritual development. I was deeply impacted by being raised in a toxic single-parent household. The environment left me with significant childhood trauma, wounds that have followed me well into adulthood. I've been in therapy since the age of 21, and now, approaching 29 this November, I can say with honesty that I am still working through the lasting effects. The reality is that childhood trauma doesn't simply disappear with age. It lingers, shaping the way we see ourselves, the way we build relationships, and the way we move through the world. Some of us stay silent because we were conditioned to accept dysfunction as normal, taught from a young age not to question authority. Others, like myself, choose to speak out, not out of bitterness, but out of a recognition that the system is broken and the culture that sustains it is deeply toxic. Too many women operate under the belief that giving birth grants them absolute authority over the life they brought into this world. They use motherhood as a weapon of control, manipulation, and domination. Phrases like, "I brought you into this world and I can take you out," become casual threats, as though creating life gives someone the right to dictate, abuse, or silence. But let's be clear, that is not love, and it is certainly not healthy parenting. It is a perpetuation of chaos and dysfunction, a cycle that stifles growth and breeds resentment across generations. When children are raised in environments where love is conditional, authority is abused, and power struggles replace nurturing, the damage runs deep. And unless we start calling it out for what it is, brokenness masquerading as normalcy, we will continue to raise generations that mistake dysfunction for love and control for leadership. Recently, Cardi B announced that she is expecting her fourth child, this time with Stefon Diggs. Observing public figures like her provides an opportunity to discuss responsibility, accountability, and the ripple effect of personal choices on families, children, and culture at large.
Cardi B's baby with Stefon Diggs is allegedly due the exact same week as his other baby mama, Kay Benji, who is pregnant with twins. And it's been alleged that Stefon Diggs has cheated on Cardi B throughout their relationship, which would make sense if you look at his track record of kids. And the blind item reads, an NFL player has quite the scheduling conflict. His rapper partner is due to give birth the same week as his other girlfriend is expecting twins. And again, this is allegedly Cardi B and Stefon Diggs, and the mother of one of Stefon Diggs' children already, Kay Benji, who is now expecting twins the same week as Cardi. And the related headline reads, Jalen Rose's daughter fears for Cardi B. Stefon Diggs has 4 children with 3 more on the way. Stefon Diggs was recently seen on Instagram showing off his infant daughter Shiloh's first birthday party with his 5th baby mama. In addition to his child Shiloh, he also has an 8-year-old daughter, a 5-month-old daughter, and a 3-month-old daughter. Cardi B is due to deliver Stefon's 5th child in December. This will be Cardi's 4th baby, and Stefon Diggs' other baby mama, Kay Benji, is reportedly pregnant again, this time with twins.
Stefon Diggs has gotten 4 women pregnant within the last 15 months. One of the women that he's gotten pregnant is now suing him in court for child support, and she has a 5-month-old. Mind you, Stefon Diggs started dating Cardi B. They went public in October of 2024, so just a little bit less than a year ago, which means he would have gotten the other woman pregnant like just before he and Cardi B went public. Here is a photo of the other child who is alleged to be his. The woman is allegedly asking for her birth expenses and attorney fees to be compensated. She wants full custody with limited visitation and child support, whereas Stefon Diggs is asking to split expenses equally and asking for joint custody. He is also asking for a DNA test as well. Now, this was filed right after Cardi B went on Gayle King announcing that she was pregnant with her first child with Stefon Diggs. I don't know, but I'm just praying for my girl Cardi, free her from the shackles. If he cheated on her and got any of these women pregnant during the time that they were together, baby, you might as well just go back to baby daddy number one.
But here's what I don't understand. For years, Cardi was openly vocal online about Offset's infidelity. She made it clear that she was unhappy and repeatedly called him out for cheating. Yet now she has left Offset only to end up with someone who, by all accounts, has an even worse reputation for infidelity. He's basically Offset Pro Max. Offset was problematic, and I don't condone his behavior at all. But if the breaking point was his cheating, what sense does it make to leave him for someone even more unfaithful? It's as if she left one toxic situation only to walk into a more chaotic version of the same thing. And here's the irony. Offset, for all his flaws, at least married her. He gave her his last name, acknowledged her publicly, and made her a wife, not just a partner or a baby mama. If cheating was not truly a deal breaker for her, then what was the point of leaving a husband for another man who was even less committed? At least in her marriage, there was a foundation, some form of covenant, and legal recognition. With this new partner, there seems to be none of that. He won't even publicly claim her, yet she is building a family with him. So, it raises the question, what exactly is her game plan? What message does this send to her children, to her fans, and to young women who look up to her? If stability, commitment, and respect are not the standards, then what is? Also, becoming pregnant by a cheating boyfriend while still married to a cheating husband is a whole new level of madness. Celebrities may live very different lives than the average person, but the cultural influence of their choices is undeniable. And when women in the spotlight normalize dysfunction, it trickles down into the collective mindset of younger generations who begin to believe that chaos is standard and that broken homes are normal. It has always been my belief that in life we are meant to elevate, not just financially, but emotionally, spiritually, and generationally. Yet when I look online, I see people defending situations like Cardi B's by saying, well, Stefon Diggs has money, so she'll be fine. And I can't help but ask, why have we reached a point where we idolize money to the extent that we're willing to ignore how children will be impacted? Why do we reduce stability, love, and commitment down to nothing more than dollar signs? I know firsthand that money is not the answer to everything. I grew up on the Upper East Side. Because of the zip code, people often assumed I was privileged, but we lived in a rent-controlled apartment. We weren't rich. I went to elementary and middle school in our neighborhood, and later I was accepted into a prominent art high school on the West Side, but many of my friends went to elite private schools like Spencer and Dalton on the Upper East Side. These were old money families, the types of people who today are glamorized on social media and old money aesthetic TikToks. From the outside, it looked like they had it all: wealth, prestige, and opportunity. But behind closed doors, many of them were just as broken, depressed, and neglected as anyone else, and some of the kids were even more depressed than me. In fact, it was some of those friends who first introduced me to drugs as a teenager. I still remember my friend and me raiding her grandparents' medicine cabinets every few weeks. They always had something wrong with them, and we would take their painkillers. Every time I was around that group of wealthy kids, drugs and substances were part of the environment: Coca-Cola lines, pills, and drinking. The truth is that despite their privilege, they were just as depressed as I was. Many of them felt unloved, overlooked, or abandoned by their parents. Not all, but many. So when you argument that Cardi B's kids will have money so they'll be okay, no. The money might actually bring them more problems in form of drugs and substance abuse. And that's the truth people don't want to talk about. Not being loved by your parents is one of the deepest wounds a human being can carry. It doesn't matter how wealthy or glamorous the exterior looks. When you grow up in an environment where you are neglected, manipulated, or simply unwanted, that pain follows you into adulthood. I know this intimately. My own mother only had me in an attempt to keep my father, but he didn't stay. She told me outright that she had wanted to abort me. Both of my parents made it clear in their own ways that I wasn't wanted. That type of rejection cuts into your soul, and no amount of therapy can erase it. It can only teach you how to live with it. To this day, I'm still in therapy, still trying to untangle the damage, and the gaslighting never ends. The last time my mother spoke to one of my cousins, she actually told her that I had mental issues and needed therapy because I confided in my cousin that she once admitted she wanted to abort me. She lied, saying she never said that to me, and painted me as unstable, when the reality is, of course I need therapy. With a mother like that, who wouldn't? This is why I push back so strongly against the glorification of baby mama culture, because I've lived the consequences of growing up without love, without stability, and within a toxic, broken system. Even in wealthy old money two-parent households, children can be neglected and damaged. So what makes us believe that children raised by single mothers chasing athletes, rappers, or already absent fathers are going to somehow fare better? Children are not props, they are not trophies, they are not bargaining chips. They are human beings who grow into adults that have to navigate this world with whatever foundation, or lack of one, that their parents gave them. And some people might respond, well, maybe Cardi will love her children and take care of them. But here's the truth. If she truly loved them, the first question she would ask herself is, what kind of environment am I bringing my child into? Love isn't just about providing affection after the fact. It's about making decisions beforehand that prioritize the child's well-being over your own impulses, pride, or desire for validation. Let me give you a personal example. I've wanted a cat for years, but do you know why I didn't get one until now? Because I wanted to make sure I could provide the best possible life for that animal. I wasn't just thinking about the affection the cat would give me, or how much I wanted one. I was thinking about whether I had the stability, the resources, and the environment to give a living creature the life it deserved. In fact, my fiancé promised me 2 cats, but only after we're married and move into a bigger home. Why? Because even something as simple as owning pets deserves thought, planning, and responsibility. The reason we decided on getting 2 cats is so they can keep each other company when we're not around. A single cat might become lonely, or even depressed without companionship. And I want to be clear, I don't take the responsibility of having an animal lightly. To me, they'll be like my babies. It's important to remember that while a cat may just be a part of your world, to them, you are their whole world. That's the perspective I want to approach this from. So if I can exercise that level of care and patience for a cat, why can't women think with at least the same level of foresight for their children? Why can't they ask themselves whether the environment they're creating will truly benefit the child? The sad reality is that, too often, they're not thinking about the child at all. They're thinking about themselves. And that's what I see with Cardi. She's not making these decisions for her children. She's making them for herself, for revenge against Offset, for the image of being chosen again, for validation from the public. It's about proving something to the world, not about providing stability for her family. The tragedy is that children can't choose the circumstances they're born into, and when parents act out of selfishness instead of love, the children carry the weight. I already feel sorry for that child, because I can see where this is heading. He will almost certainly need therapy one day, not because of who he is, but because of the environment he will grow up in. And I say this from experience because when I look at Cardi, I see echoes of my own mother. The self-centeredness, the recklessness, the refusal to think long-term, it's all there. And if I, as an adult who has been in therapy for years, am still untangling the damage caused by those same patterns, what do you think her children will face? The fact that people online are saying Stefon Diggs has money so the kids will be alright is one of the most toxic and misguided arguments I've ever heard. Please, don't have children for money. A woman's womb should be treated with more respect than simply being a wealthy man's dumping ground for his seed without proper care and attention. Pregnancy is one of the most vulnerable times in a woman's life, and it has been proven that the child feels the mother's emotions in the womb. Even if a mother deeply wants her child, her thoughts about the father's absence will be felt by the baby. Whether you admit it or not, the child will sense rejection and emotional instability. Experiencing trauma at such an early stage of development often leads to children developing suicidal thoughts later in life. The seed of despair and rejection are planted as early as the womb. This is why so many baby mama situations result in children growing up with insecurities. It may not show when they're infants, but eventually it surfaces, affecting their mental health and future relationships. I know this firsthand. My fiancé and I are currently in premarital therapy, largely because of my own insecurities. He has had to learn how to speak to me with patience and care, and it was actually his idea to begin therapy. At first he thought I was overly sensitive and dramatic, but through counseling he's realizing there are tools to help me feel more confident and safe in our relationship. I often feel guilty that my fiancé has to jump through hoops to be with me, carrying the weight of things he had no hand in creating. None of my exes mistreated me or betrayed me. My trauma doesn't come from past relationships, it entirely stems from my childhood. And yet here he is, having to help me navigate wounds that were planted long before he ever came into my life. That doesn't always feel fair to him. This is, in many ways, the inevitable product of broken homes and unstable upbringings. The same cycle we see perpetuated in the culture of baby mamas and fractured families. If I didn't have such a patient, loving man, I would likely be single at 28, unsure if I would ever encounter someone willing to love me through the weight of that baggage. Of course, forgiveness is necessary. We must forgive our parents, release bitterness, and move forward. But forgiveness does not erase accountability. To acknowledge the ways our parents failed us is not to shift blame. It is to recognize that many of us were set up to struggle before we ever had a chance. Understanding that truth allows us to break generational cycles rather than blindly repeat them. If I hadn't committed to healing, and if I wasn't still in the process of healing, I would probably be a baby mama by now, or even a divorced woman. Why? Because my trauma set me up for failure. I never had an example of what real love looked like, how to love, how to be loved, how to show up in a relationship without sabotaging it. I didn't know how not to push away someone who genuinely cared, or how not to make a man who loves me eventually give up because of the chaos in my own mind. This is exactly what I mean when I talk about the product of baby mama culture. It's not just about women raising kids on their own. It's about the ripple effect of brokenness passed down from unstable homes, trauma that creates adults who are unprepared to build and sustain healthy families. We cannot keep supporting it, normalizing it, or romanticizing it. These patterns are not harmless. They are ruining future lives before they even have a chance to begin. We need to stop romanticizing the idea of a cute little baby without considering the reality that this child will eventually grow into an adult, shaped by the stability or dysfunction they were raised in. Parenthood is not about creating a photo opportunity. It is about raising future adults who will inherit the world we leave behind. When that foundation is fractured, the consequences are not just personal, they are generational. Money can provide a roof over your head and access to resources, but it does not create a family structure. It cannot erase a child's emotional wounds, instill self-respect, or replace the stable environment every child needs. Chaos exists because we continue to create it, and women are not exempt from contributing to it. Some women project their own unfulfilled identities onto a partner or child, while many of the men involved are also operating from brokenness, coming from unstable homes, fathering multiple children, or carrying unresolved issues. The result is compounded dysfunction, which affects not just the adults but the children who must grow up in the aftermath. Men also contribute to this cycle. Some attempt to cover their instability by fathering multiple children with different women, thinking it masks their flaws. But this only exposes deeper issues. Take Nick Cannon, for example. His choice to have numerous children across households has raised questions about his underlying struggles. I think he admitted to having mental issues. I mean, you'd have to be mentally unstable to do something like that. The truth is, money cannot fix this. Stability comes from character, responsibility, and emotional maturity, not wealth. Money cannot erase poor decisions, unstable family structures, or neglect. Young women especially need to understand this. No amount of money compensates for emotional instability, toxic relationships, or chaotic family environments. Money is not maturity. Money is not respect. And money will never substitute for a healthy, nurturing foundation. Young women need to understand this. Becoming a mother is one of the most significant decisions you will ever make. When a woman has a child, it is not just a baby, it is a new human life. Every choice around conception and parenting carries long-term consequences, shaping not only the child's future, but also the mother's relationships, friendships, and overall stability. It's essential to acknowledge the reality of pregnancy and childbirth. It is one of the most physically and emotionally demanding experiences a woman can go through, and it comes with lifelong implications. The older generation often says, "I turned out fine, so you will too." But that mindset is misleading. The truth is, most children raised in unstable environments do face challenges, often ones that linger well into adulthood. To be honest, many who grew up in chaotic homes struggle to function as healthy adults and are not prepared to raise children of their own without extensive healing and therapy. Pretending otherwise only perpetuates generational cycles of instability. Many women rely on appearances, plastic surgery, and makeup to elevate themselves and project worth. But this is superficial. True responsibility comes from character, emotional maturity, and mental stability, not cosmetics, wealth, or status. People should focus more on the environments children are brought into. Children do not care how rich their parents are. They need stability, love, and guidance. A maternity photo shoot does not prepare someone for the lifelong work of parenthood. Too often, women's egos and desire to feel superior to others drive harmful decisions, getting pregnant to compete, to control a man, or to seek validation. Men rarely engage in parenthood as a form of competition, highlighting a gender dynamic that deserves attention. Some women use pregnancy as a tool for attention, leverage, or distraction, sometimes to compete with other women or to deflect from personal shortcomings. This behavior contributes to the epidemic of broken households, adult dysfunction, and generational trauma. Being a woman is not an excuse to act without accountability. Wealth, designer clothes, or fame do not exempt anyone from responsibility. Women must begin holding each other accountable for irresponsible or reckless choices. Normalizing such behavior only perpetuates harm. This is also a spiritual issue. Many women do not realize the spiritual consequences of their decisions or the negative energy they may be passing on to their children. I have lived this reality. Trust me, we are not fine. Ultimately, it is not money, fame, or appearances that matter. It is teaching responsibility, creating stability, and raising children in a healthy environment. That is what truly elevates life and purpose. Stop using children as collateral. Stop glorifying instability. Stop pretending that having a child without commitment is something to be celebrated. The truth is uncomfortable, messy, and often unpopular, but it must be said. Our culture is sick, and it is time someone spoke the truth. Black women specifically often complain that we are the least respected and protected. If we want respect and protection, we must recognize that our decisions now will shape the next generation. While it may be too late for women of our age, we have a responsibility to protect the girls who are coming after us. When you see a baby mama posting a pregnancy photo shoot, do not blindly comment congratulations. Comment questions instead. When is the wedding? Will the child be raised in a two-parent household? It may sound heartless, but we have to bring shame back. Young girls who may idolize these women should see the comments and learn from them. Let them understand that having a child without commitment is not something to be celebrated. Let them see the consequences, and let them think, I don't want to be that when I grow up. They need to understand that opening their legs without walking down the aisle is not worthy of praise. This visibility is crucial for teaching accountability and discouraging choices that perpetuate broken homes. It is unfortunate that we find ourselves in this situation, but we cannot ignore it. We must actively work to dismantle the baby mama culture. If left unchecked, it will inevitably continue to produce more unstable households and generational dysfunction. Advice for women considering pregnancy. Follow this simple 3-step plan. 1. Have him get on one knee and ask you to be his wife. 2. Get married. 3. Only after first 2 steps should you consider having children. Do not skip steps or change the order. This plan is intentionally simple so it can be followed effectively. Additional guidance. Only have a child if you are in a stable, committed relationship with a partner who shares your values. Prioritize the long-term well-being of the child over short-term gains, attention, or personal vindication. Avoid using pregnancy as a tool to manipulate a partner or elevate your ego. Parenthood is a lifelong responsibility, and approaching it with intention and stability ensures the best outcome for both mother and child. Ultimately, having a child is not a shortcut to validation, attention, or personal fulfillment. It is a profound responsibility that shapes the future of another human life. By approaching parenthood with intention, commitment, and stability, women can protect their children, themselves, and the generations to come. Follow the steps, honor the process, and remember, true empowerment comes from making choices that create lasting security and love, not temporary satisfaction or ego gratification.